Hey, Elena, is it just me or is the morning getting earlier? I'm so tired. I actually did a coffee right before we started recording, but my brain is still asleep.
I can see that. But James, wait, you did a coffee? That sounds a little funny to my ears.
Oh, did I get it wrong again? Honestly, I feel like I'm always mixing things up lately.
It's okay. It is such a common mistake. You actually made a coffee. We use make because you created something new. You started with beans and water, and now you have a delicious drink.
Right. So make is like the powerhouse word for creating stuff. I'm still trying to figure out the rules. Sometimes it feels like a guessing game when I'm tired.
Exactly. I call it a powerhouse because it is so flexible. It changes meaning depending on what you put next to it. Just think, use make for results or objects, and use do for the process, the action, or the job itself.
I see. That makes sense. Although my wife is always telling me I make a terrible cup of coffee anyway. She says it tastes like warm shadows. I really need to get used to using that new machine we bought.
Well, at least you're doing your best. See, that's an action, a process. My husband is the same way. He is very quiet in the morning, just doing his crossword puzzles while I am making breakfast in the kitchen.
That sounds much more peaceful than my house. My dog usually decides that 6 a.m. is the perfect time to run into the bedroom and jump on my head because he wants his breakfast.
Oh, the joy of pets. But really, these two words are like chameleons. They are everywhere in English, and using them correctly is a huge step towards sounding natural.
I'm excited to dive in. How about you listening at home? Do you ever find yourself saying, I did a mistake instead of I made a mistake? It's a bit of a puzzle, right?
Don't worry, we are going to deal with all of that today. Here's the plan. First, we will look at the B1 basics, the everyday stuff. Then, we will explore some B2 nuances to help you sound more sophisticated.
And we will finish up with some great idioms so we can catch up with how native speakers actually talk in real life.
Perfect. It is going to be a very useful session.
It really is. And hey, if you want to speak English more naturally and maybe laugh at my mistakes along the way, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out.
It really does. So let's dive into the daily grind. James, tell me about your weekend. I bet you had plenty of chances to use do and make while you were at home.
Oh, you have no idea. Saturday was basically a marathon of chores. I spent the entire morning doing the laundry and doing the dishes. It felt like every time I finished one thing, there was something else to do.
I feel you. That is the perfect way to use do. Chores are repetitive, right? They're part of a routine. You aren't really creating a brand new invention. You're just maintaining the house. So we do the cleaning or do the shopping.
Right, the boring stuff. But then I had to stop because I needed to make a phone call to my neighbor. I accidentally knocked over one of his flower pots while I was moving some boxes, so I had to make an apology.
See, there's the shift. You made a call and made an apology. You created a conversation and a result that wasn't there before. You didn't just do an apology, you made one happen.
I'm finally starting to figure out the logic. Do is for the treadmill of life, the things you repeat, and make is for the things that stick or the things you produce. I'm still trying to get used to it though. Sometimes I still want to say I did a cake because it felt like a lot of work.
I wish it were that easy. But remember, you started with flour and eggs and ended with a cake. You made something. How about you listening at home? Think about your morning. Did you do any chores today, like doing the dusting? Or did you make something, like making a to-do list for work?
I usually make a mess before I make a to-do list. My wife is always telling me I need to be more organized. She spends her Sunday evenings doing the meal prep for the entire week, so she doesn't have to think about it later.
That is very smart. My husband is the same way. He likes to go over his schedule for the week on Sunday nights, so he doesn't make any mistakes with his appointments. He does the planning to avoid making errors.
I should probably try that. Usually I just run into trouble because I forget what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll be in the middle of doing my exercises and suddenly realize I forgot to make a reservation for dinner.
It sounds like you have a lot on your plate, but you are using the words perfectly now. Do the exercises, that's the activity. Make a reservation, that's the result. You're really starting to catch up with these rules.
It feels good when it clicks. It's like a puzzle. Once you see where the do pieces go and where the make pieces go, the whole picture of the language starts to look clearer.
Exactly. It is all about the intention behind the action. If you focus on the task, it's likely do. If you focus on what comes out of the task, it's likely make.
That's a great way to put it. It's like doing is the journey and making is the destination. But I was thinking about work the other day. I heard someone say they were doing business with a company, but then they mentioned making a profit. That feels like the same thing to me, isn't it?
Not quite. This is where we get into those higher level nuances. When you say you are doing business, you are talking about the activity, the meetings, the emails, the negotiations. It's the ongoing process. But the profit? That is the result. You make a profit because it's something that exists at the end of the day because of your hard work.
I see. So my neighbor who is trying to set up a small shop in his garage, he is doing a lot of business, but he hasn't made a profit yet. He told me he's still figuring out his costs. It turns out that starting a business is way harder than it looks.
Exactly. He is doing the work, but he hasn't made the money yet. And speaking of making things happen, we also use make when we talk about how things affect us emotionally, like a causative verb. For example, that song makes me feel nostalgic.
Oh, I get that. Like last night, the thunder made my dog hide under the bed for 3 hours. He was terrified. I tried to point out that he was safe inside, but he didn't care. The loud noise just made him panic.
That's a perfect example. The thunder caused a change in his state of mind. It made him hide. It's about an induced feeling or action. It's a bit more abstract than making a sandwich, but it's the same logic. A result was produced.
I think I'm starting to fall for this logic. It actually makes sense when you look into it. But wait, can I say the movie did me cry?
No, definitely not. Remember, do is for an action you perform. You aren't doing the crying as a task on your to-do list. The movie is the force that makes you cry. My husband is usually very stoic, but nature documentaries always make him a little teary-eyed when the animals get lost.
I feel him. How about you listening at home? Is there a specific movie or a song that always makes you feel a certain way? Maybe a song that makes you feel energized or a movie that makes you laugh every single time.
It's a great way to practice. Just think, what makes you happy? What makes you frustrated? When you use make this way, you're really showing that you understand the influence one thing has over another.
It's funny how these words are so small, but they carry so much weight. I used to think make was just for building furniture or baking, but it's really about any kind of transformation, isn't it? Even a transformation of mood.
Spot on, James. You are really catching on to the B2 level of thinking now. It's about the impact. If there is an impact or a change, make is usually your best friend.
It really is. You know, Alina, while we're on the subject of making things happen, I keep hearing my cousin use a very strange phrase. He is always bragging about how he is making a killing with his new online shop. At first, I was actually quite worried for him. It sounds a bit violent, doesn't it?
I can see why that would be confusing, but don't worry,
Your cousin is perfectly safe. When we say someone is making a killing, it just means they are making a huge amount of money very quickly. It usually turns out to be about a very successful business deal or a lucky investment that paid off. Oh, thank goodness. So he's just getting rich. I should have known. Everything he touches seems to turn to gold. I am still trying to work out how to save enough just for a weekend trip, let alone making a killing. I guess some people just have the magic touch in business.
It is a very common idiom in the professional world. If a company releases a new app and millions of people download it in the first week, you would say they are making a killing. It is all about that big, sudden success.
I will definitely keep an ear out for that one. Now, I came across another one recently that uses do, but it felt much more casual. My neighbor asked if I could do him a solid by looking after his cat while he was away. I was a bit puzzled at the time. A solid what? A solid block of cheese?
That is a classic. To do someone a solid is just a very informal, friendly way to say do someone a favor. The word solid here refers to a solid favor, something reliable and helpful. It's much more relaxed than asking for a favor in a formal way. It's something you say to friends, family, or people you know well.
Ah, that makes so much sense now. So I was helping out by feeding the cat and making sure he didn't feel too lonely. I think I will start using that phrase with my wife, especially when I lose the grocery list she leaves for me and need her to text it to me again. I can just say, hey, can you do me a solid? Exactly. It shows a nice level of closeness. My husband often does a solid for our elderly neighbor by helping her carry her heavy gardening supplies. He's very quiet and doesn't say much, but he's always happy to help. It's those small actions that really make a difference in a neighborhood. I agree. It feels good to help. How about you listening at home? Have you ever made a killing on something you sold online? Or maybe a friend asked you to do them a solid recently? We would love to hear about your experiences with these phrases. It really is interesting how making is often tied to big, exciting profits, while doing is used for these small, helpful acts of kindness. They really do cover both the professional and personal sides of our lives. It's all about getting the hang of the context. It feels like I'm finally starting to understand the personality of these words. It's not just about the grammar rules, it's about the feeling behind the words and the situations we find ourselves in every day. I feel much more confident now. That's the spirit. But James, why don't we see if that confidence holds up under pressure? Let's play a little game to help our listeners and you really lock these in. Oh, I love a challenge. I'll be the quiz master. Listeners, I have 3 sentences for you. They all sound okay, but they're actually wrong. Can you find the mistake? Elena, you have to help them out. Sentence number 1. I need to do a decision about my vacation.
That is a common one. It should be to make a decision. To make a decision. Use make because a decision is something you create after thinking. It's the result of your thoughts.
I always have to make a decision about which pair of mismatched socks to wear in the morning.
My husband had to make a decision about which new binoculars to buy for his bird watching. Okay, what's the second one?
All right, here is sentence number 2. Can you make me a favor and hold this?
Wait for it. Did you hear it? It should be to do a favor. To do a favor. A favor is an action or a service you perform for someone, so we use do.
My neighbor did me a favor by checking my mail while I was away last week.
I asked my husband to do me a favor and help me move some heavy pots in the garden. He's very strong, so he didn't mind.
Last one, sentence number 3. He is doing a lot of progress with his English lessons.
This one trips people up all the time. The correct phrase is to make progress. To make progress. Think of it as building something. You are building your skills, so you are making progress.
My dog is finally making progress with his training. He actually sat down when I asked him today.
I am finally making progress with my latest knitting project, even though it's taking forever. How about you listening at home? Did you get all 3 right? Don't worry if you didn't. It takes time to get used to these.
Exactly. Speaking of that, Alina, there were a few other words we used earlier that I want to make sure I really understand. Can we go over them?
Of course. Let's look at a few more from our chat. To figure out. To figure out. This means to finally understand something or find a solution to a problem after thinking about it.
I'm still trying to figure out how to program the timer on my coffee machine so I can have a hot cup ready when I wake up.
My husband spent all afternoon trying to figure out the fastest route to the new park. He loves looking at maps.
He and I should talk. And what about that other one? To get used to. To get used to.
This means to become familiar with something so that it no longer feels strange or difficult. It's a process of adjusting.
It took me a long time to get used to the noise of the city after living in a small town for so many years.
My cat is slowly getting used to the new kitten, but she still gives him a very judgmental look from the top of the sofa. Before we wrap up today's session, I have a little challenge for you. We've talked a lot about the theory, but now it is time to put it into practice.
Oh, a challenge. I like the sound of that. I'm ready to figure out if I've actually learned anything today.
I'm sure you have. So here is our challenge of the day for everyone listening. We want you to think about your job or your daily routine and write down just 2 sentences, one using do and one using make.
That sounds simple enough. So for my job here, I could say, I do the recording every week and I make a few jokes along the way.
Exactly. You are focusing on the action of recording and the result of the jokes. For me, I might say, I do the research for our topics and I make a helpful list of idioms for our listeners.
I love that. How about you listening at home? Can you do us a solid and write your 2 sentences in the comments or in your notebook? It really helps your brain to go over what we've discussed today.
Exactly. The more you use these words in your own life, the faster you will get used to them. It stops being a grammar rule and starts being a natural habit.
And hey, if you found today's episode helpful, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out and ensures you don't miss our next chat. We love seeing our community grow.
It really does. Thank you for spending your time with us. Remember, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every time you correct yourself, you are making real progress.
Well said. Now, I need to go and make sure my dog hasn't eaten my favorite slippers while I was busy talking. He's been very quiet in the other room, which usually means trouble.
Good luck with that, James. Goodbye, everyone, and keep practicing.
See you next time.